Have you ever met someone who never seems to take responsibility for anything? Or maybe you've caught yourself shifting the blame to someone else without realizing it. Why do we do this? And what's behind this behavior that can damage relationships and stunt personal growth? In this video, we're diving into what psychology reveals about the habit of always blaming others. We'll explore the roots of this behavior, its impact on our lives, and, most importantly, how we can overcome it to foster healthier connections and take control of our actions. If you're ready to uncover why pointing the finger might be more harmful than it seems, and how to break this cycle, stay until the end. The answers might just surprise you. Let's dive in. Why do some people never take the blame? Have you ever noticed how some people seem almost instinctively skilled at shifting blame onto others, even when the mistake is clearly theirs? This habit isn't just frustrating, it reveals deep layers of insecurity and psychological defense mechanisms. For these individuals, taking responsibility can feel like a direct attack on their sense of self-worth, as if admitting a mistake jeopardizes their self-image or value in the eyes of others. Often, this behavior has roots in childhood or life experiences. People who grew up in environments where mistakes were harshly punished may have learned that admitting fault is dangerous. For them, deflecting blame feels safer than facing emotional consequences like shame or rejection. Left unaddressed, this pattern can become an automatic reflex in adulthood. Blame shifting is also one of the brain's most common defense mechanisms used to protect the ego. Known as projection, this occurs when someone transfers their own mistakes or insecurities onto another person. It's as if the brain is saying, if I don't recognize this as mine, I won't have to deal with the pain or discomfort it brings. While this strategy may provide temporary relief, it often damages relationships over time. Another factor is the fear of appearing weak or incompetent. In highly competitive cultures or environments, admitting mistakes can be seen as a character flaw or something that jeopardizes one's social or professional standing. This constant pressure to maintain a facade of perfection drives people to blame others as a way to protect their reputation, even at the cost of creating conflict or distancing themselves from others. However, this behavior doesn't happen by chance. It's deeply tied to how people manage negative emotions and their need to protect their public image. Understanding these underlying reasons is the first step toward addressing situations where shifting blame feels like the only solution. What does psychology reveal about shifting responsibility? Psychology explains that shifting blame onto others is closely tied to defense mechanisms, tools the brain uses to protect itself from emotional discomfort. One of the most common mechanisms is projection, where a person redirects their own feelings or shortcomings onto someone else. This acts as a way to alleviate internal discomfort, as if the brain is saying, the problem isn't me, it's you. Another relevant psychological concept is cognitive dissonance, which refers to the mental discomfort we feel when our actions contradict our beliefs. For instance, someone who sees themselves as responsible but makes a major mistake may experience a deep sense of unease. Blaming someone else becomes a quick fix to restore internal harmony, even though it doesn't address the root issue. Blame shifting is also connected to the human desire to maintain a positive self-image. Admitting mistakes can feel like a direct threat to one's self-worth, especially for individuals with low self-esteem. For these people, pointing fingers becomes almost automatic, a way to protect their identity and avoid the emotional burden of acknowledging failure. Social and cultural norms also play a significant role. In environments where success is highly valued and failure is stigmatized, blaming others can become a survival strategy. This is particularly common in competitive workplaces, where admitting fault might be perceived as incompetence, or in cultures where mistakes are associated with public shame rather than opportunities for growth. These psychological insights reveal that blame shifting isn't merely a character flaw, it's a deeply ingrained emotional response. Understanding the triggers behind this behavior helps shed light on its impact, not just on the individual, but on their relationships and surroundings, perpetuating a cycle that can be difficult to break. How blaming others can ruin your relationships without you realizing it. Blaming others might feel like an easy way to avoid conflict or responsibility, but it silently wreaks havoc on personal and professional relationships. This behavior creates an environment of distrust and tension, leaving others feeling undervalued or unfairly targeted. Over time, it weakens bonds and can push friends, family, and colleagues away. In friendships, a blame-shifting dynamic often breeds resentment. Imagine repeatedly being the scapegoat for someone else's mistakes. Eventually, you might feel exploited or disrespected. Healthy relationships require mutual accountability, and constant blame throws that balance off, leaving one party to shoulder all the emotional burden. In the workplace, the damage can be even more pronounced. Colleagues or leaders who deflect responsibility foster a culture of fear and competition. Instead of working collaboratively to solve problems, team members become defensive, focusing on self-preservation rather than innovation. This undermines trust, reduces morale, and ultimately hampers organizational success. In family dynamics, blame shifting can cause profound emotional harm. Constantly assigning fault to one family member can lead to feelings of inadequacy or low self-esteem. It also stalls conflict resolution, since the focus remains on assigning blame rather than finding constructive solutions. Over time, these patterns create emotional distance and unresolved tension within the family unit. What's most alarming is that people who frequently blame others often don't recognize the harm they're causing. They may believe they're just being honest or standing their ground, but in reality, they're eroding trust and emotional safety. Recognizing this habit is the first step toward change. By shifting focus from assigning blame to fostering understanding, it's possible to rebuild trust and nurture stronger, healthier relationships. Signs you, or someone close, might be blaming others. Recognizing the habit of blaming others can be challenging, especially because people with this behavior often don't realize they're engaging in it. However, certain patterns can help identify this tendency in yourself or those around you. One of the clearest indicators is a frequent refusal to admit mistakes, even when the evidence is undeniable. These individuals often seek external justifications for their failures, sidestepping personal accountability. Another telltale sign is the overuse of defensive phrases. Statements like, "It wasn't my fault," "This only happened because of you," or "I messed up because I was distracted by someone else," are common ways to shift responsibility onto others. These phrases reveal a consistent effort to avoid owning up to errors. Exaggerating the faults of others is also a common behavior. Someone who regularly blames others might highlight small mistakes made by someone else to divert attention from their own larger errors. This tactic often involves manipulating the narrative to protect their image. People who struggle with taking responsibility also tend to react poorly to criticism. When confronted, they may respond with anger or position themselves as victims, claiming the critique is unjust. This defensiveness creates a barrier to reflection and prevents them from considering how they might improve their actions. In group settings, individuals who habitually blame others often avoid taking responsibility when things go wrong. Instead, they might present themselves as victims of others' behaviors, rather than acknowledging their own role in the issue. Recognizing these behaviors is the first step toward addressing the problem. Whether it's to improve personal growth or relationships, understanding these patterns can open the door to greater accountability and positive change. Breaking the cycle of blaming others and taking control. Overcoming the habit of blaming others requires self-awareness and consistent effort. The first step is acknowledging that this behavior exists and understanding how it impacts not only your relationships but also your personal growth. Admitting that you have control over your actions and decisions is empowering. It shifts the focus from external circumstances to where responsibility truly belongs, within yourself. One effective way to initiate this change is through self-reflection. When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what was my role in this situation? Or, what could I have done differently? These questions disrupt the cycle of blaming others and encourage a more balanced perspective, fostering learning and growth in the process. It's equally important to embrace the acceptance of imperfection. Often, the tendency to blame stems from a fear of appearing flawed or being judged. By accepting that mistakes are a natural part of being human, you alleviate the pressure to be perfect and feel more comfortable acknowledging faults. This shift not only lightens the emotional burden, but also deepens your connections with others, who are likely to appreciate your authenticity. Practicing active listening during conflicts is another key strategy. Instead of reacting defensively or shifting blame, focus on truly understanding the other person's perspective. This approach creates a space for constructive dialogue and reduces the impulse to justify your actions immediately. The more you practice active listening, the easier it becomes to take responsibility for your part in a situation without feeling attacked. Finally, developing the habit of focusing on solutions rather than assigning blame can transform the way you approach problems. When things go wrong, channel your energy into resolving the issue and preventing future occurrences. This shift in Perspective not only improves your interactions with others but also enhances your ability to lead and manage conflicts with maturity and balance. Now you understand that the habit of blaming others goes far beyond a simple choice. It stems from deeply rooted defense mechanisms, fears, and insecurities. The good news is that by recognizing this pattern and working on it, you can transform not only how you handle mistakes but also your relationships and your life as a whole. Now I want to hear from you. Have you noticed this behavior in someone close to you or even in yourself? What stood out to you most in this video? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experiences might help others reflect and grow as well. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to keep exploring the mysteries of human behavior with us. See you in the next video. Until then.